So I'm Charlie Seelig. I'm the town administrator for Halifax. I'm here to host tonight's presentation about the town's electricity aggregation program. Many of you received some information in the mail, but we wanted to make sure in the meantime, and we're hoping that everybody gets it who should be getting the mailing, but we also wanted to have this opportunity for people who are to come in and ask questions about the program. Also, we're trying to get as much information out as possible in as many ways as possible. We have a lot of information on the town's website, but a lot of people watch cable instead. So we're also going to be filming this for cable. We'll be on the public access channel and the Area 58 YouTube channel too. So people can, if they're not here or they want to go back and listen to the questions and answers, they'll be able to do that. So if you want to start off, and we're going to have some questions from the website, but we'll also have a chance for everybody here to ask questions tonight too.
My name is Mark Capadona from Colonial Power, 277 Main Street, Marlborough, Massachusetts. I'm going to try to kind of take you through what has happened, kind of where we are, where we're going to be. There won't be any question. I will stay here till midnight to make sure everyone has their questions, and I'm certain I have your answers. So I'm in no rush to leave. I want to make sure that everyone gets every question answered. I'm happy to just stick around as long as we need. What I want to do is just explain about the program, kind of what has happened, where we are currently, and where you'll be within the next month or so. So this is municipal aggregation, electricity for basic service customers in Halifax. This program has passed through the local and state process. Passed it at town meeting, the Board of Selectmen passed the plan. I think it was sometime in June or May, I don't have the exact date, the Department of Public Utilities issued an order saying that you could go out in the marketplace. What does that mean? That means everyone that's on basic service in Halifax gets put into a load or a load profile so that suppliers can bid on what you use for electricity. Beneficial, meaning the town is now going to bring you a choice that you haven't had in the past. You get to decide whether or not you want to be part of this program or not. The hot button item, I want to get it right out there, 800-pound gorilla. But if you do nothing, you will be enrolled in this program. Every single person should get a card in the mail. If you have 2 meters at your house, you should get 2 individual cards so you can choose on one and not on the other, and so forth and so on. But everyone will have a choice and should get a card. If they don't get a card, you could simply go on to Colonial Power Group. I'll be happy to give you my card. You can go on and opt out of the program right out of the bat before it ever starts 30 days. Give us a call. If you didn't get the mailing, we're happy to get that out again for you. But I think over time, everyone's going to see that the mailing went out. We're happy to tell you if you were part of that mailing as well. Right at our office, we can tell you if you were part of the mailing. It's just the
Mark,
mail float.
When you talk about being part of the mailing,
yes.
What do you mean in a sense of why would some people not get the mailing and why would some people get it?
Great point. So if you currently had a third-party supplier, by that I mean a Veridian, I'm trying to think of some other, Dominion used to be a big player, but a Next Era or even an NRG, you've already made a choice. If you're part of the Green Up program for National Grid, you've already made a choice. If you've gone on and spoken to National Grid and say, I don't want to be marketed to at all, so that you don't get any of those phone calls or the mailings that come 5-6 times a day, you wouldn't get this mailing because you've told National Grid, I want no marketing materials. So when National Grid delivers us that list, it's only people on basic service National Grid. If you have a third-party supplier, you're on National Grid's Green Up, or you've asked them not to be part of the marketing campaign, just to keep you off it, we would not have your information. National Grid tells us you're a basic service customer. So you're included in that pool. Anyone else can always join this program, not a problem, no fee or penalty to do so, but you wouldn't be part of the initial mailing. Simple phone call to our office, go on our website, you can opt in. Very simple.
So Mark, what does the mailing look like and what information is included in that?
So, and they couldn't make it any more confusing, Mr. Seelig. They require the Department of Public Utilities what you're going to get in the mail. Some people have it. And what it is an apples to apples comparison. The town's price compared to basic service. Your price is a split price. So what it's saying when everyone actually sees this, your price is going to be 0.09299. The basic service price right now is 9,432. That's right through November. We don't know yet. We won't know until, I believe it's September 8th. National Grid goes out to bid again. And I'm going to bring bad news. Unfortunately, you're in the SEMA load zone, and next summer, the capacity prices are going to go higher. So we're going to find that energy prices are going to rise because of a component of energy called capacity. And it's non-bypassable. We all are going to pay it. And they have been very, very generous with our energy dollars. Over the next 3 years, you and I will pay to the tune of $3.2 billion an increased capacity charge. Your rate for the following, and I want to make sure I have this right, 34 months will be at 10.8. We don't know.
If you're in this program.
The aggregation price is 10.8 starting in November of 2017. We'll stay there. I'm certain to the fact won't be a problem this coming winter. Most likely won't be a problem next June, next May. Unfortunately, the following winter will be the same thing. It's after that capacity may fall off a little bit and you may be above. At that point, people can opt out. But my point being, we know your rate. Stable, 10, 8, 7, will not change.
But with National Grid, what happens is, you just pointed out, they will start contracting with their suppliers for the electricity from November until May. They don't know how much they're going to have to pay to those suppliers from November to May. They'll find out the middle of September. That information becomes public sometime in the middle of September, and people will then be able to know what they'll be paying if they stay with the basic rate, which they're in right now, what they'll be paying for November through May, which will be higher than what it is right now. Because in general, the summer rates are less, the winter rates are more than the summer. So it goes up and down, up and down, up and down.
And that's correct. And the way, just technically, so everyone understands, in March, they buy 50% of their needs from May 1st through April 30th. And then in September, they buy the other 50% of their needs, which they're going to do in September, for November 1st through October 31st. And all they do is simply ladder those two purchases for 100% of their needs, and that's their price. And that will be known, just as the manager said, in probably the end of September. Say September 20th, he'll have that information. I'll get it for you ASAP, so it's out there. And then it's your choice what you want to do.
But right now, in this terms of making a choice right now, they need to, even though the information won't be available until later in September, through the program we're doing right now, is they should make a choice this month whether they want to stay with basic or they can join the aggregation program. If they don't do anything, they'll be joining the aggregation program. They can opt out and stay with basic rate by sending that card in, by going online and filling the form out there. They can even call and do it that way.
That's correct. And just so that we're all not guesswork, if you stay in the program, no one's going to get rich, but there's guaranteed savings. You're going to pay 0.9299 compared to 0.9432. September and October, guaranteed. What happens in November? If I knew that, we would have this meeting in the Caribbean. Make no mistake about it. It's an energy market. We're not certain, but I'm fairly certain this rate here that it's going to is going to be lower, but I'm not, if I was 100% certain, believe me. It is a market, so anything could happen. I just know, guaranteed, the basic service rate is not coming down, and the aggregation rate is set. So, this month of August is your time to make a decision before anything even starts. Everyone's still on basic service. Nothing has changed. That means if you sign that card and send it back to us, you'd never be enrolled in the program. You'd simply continue to get basic service, not a problem. If you wanted to enjoy just the 2 months guaranteed savings, you don't do anything, and come, let's just say October, you sign that card, send it in, you're opted out. I'm unsure what happens, whether there's savings or not, but you're out of the program after 2 months of savings. And again, I'm just taking a look here. I probably should have done the math, but I'm looking at about a tenth of a penny and a half, another $1.5 million in the industry. So if you're using, so you're probably going to save just around $1 on an average user, just to give you an idea, per month. with the current rate. Depends on what that new rate is in the wintertime.
Okay, so why don't you keep going, and then,
Oh,
or if you all have quite, you want to.
I wanted to open it up, I see a lot of eyes with some questions. Just to let you ask, because most of the questions you're going to ask, we have a question and answer here that I can run through to answer anything that doesn't get answered. But I think if it's coming from you, it's a question you might have in your head. And if I'm just talking, it's not going to have the same impact as your question. And if people are nervous, I'm happy to run through these questions. Ma'am.
The biggest part of my bill is delivery. So what happens, I mean, I pay a small amount for my electricity. I pay a large amount for delivery. How does your plan work that way? Is it
I guess I have more bad news. So that's the monopoly of the distribution charges. So I'm going to take this one step further. So National Grid, for you, the end user, all things won't change. All this program addresses is the electron running through the wire. So to answer your question, that top part is a monopoly that the Department of Public Utilities, they regulate through National Grid. We don't have any say over that. It's not an open market. Only the single line item that says basic service is going to change on your bill. But National Grid is simply a poles and wires company now. They don't own generation. The only reason they procure energy is because you haven't made a choice. So that's what the department loves this, because people are out there using the marketplace, as was thought would happen in 1997. Everyone would rush to the marketplace. It hasn't materialized. It's starting to now. If you have a problem with your bill, you call National Grid. The power goes out, you call National Grid. Problem with your meter, National Grid. Most of the things that you and I have an issue with, it's still National Grid. All we're doing is taking the actual supply or the commodity and trying to procure that at a lower rate or a more stable rate, and it could have been greened up, so forth and so on, depending on the wishes of the community.
So the delivery charge is the National Grid charge. That doesn't change as part of this program. The state might allow them to charge more for delivery at some point in the future, but it has nothing to do particularly with this program. They own the lines and everything else. And so what you're paying for in delivery is the cost of those lines and repairing them and everything. Think of it as a pipeline. They own the pipe and you're paying for the pipe. When you're buying supply, when you're buying the electrons, the electricity for your house or your business, that's the supply, and that's what we're discussing tonight, in the sense of you have a choice of suppliers. You can stay with the National Grid Basic Service, you can go with NextEra, you can go with any number of other companies that are out there selling electrons that flow through that pipeline. So you can buy the electrons from anywhere you want to, but you can't buy the pipe from anywhere you want to.
It would be I happen to be old enough to remember it, much like when Marbell, so you could buy I don't know if people remember this, but you used to be able to buy your long distance from anyone, but if a tree fell down, you'd still call Verizon, because they were the ones that owned the wires locally.
Or even farther back, New England Telephone.
I didn't want to go. But those are it's very similar to the structure. So most things that go on, if there's a problem with the bill and you're thinking you're getting too much price on supply, you're getting charged too much on the supply, you certainly want to call us. That's what the town has hired us for. We're happy to answer any of those questions. But if it's a meter or the power's out or there's emergency, because the line's down, that's National Grid. And any of the benefits that you get for National Grid, say that you might use budget billing, or you're a low-income customer, or you have net metering, all of those same benefits apply to the program, because it's all on the distribution side of the bill. And unfortunately, at this time, it's a monopoly and we can't help you.
You notice that the bill doesn't necessarily go up over time. Back in 2015, we were paying a much higher rate than we are now.
And that's because I don't know if you remember, a much higher rate. So in 2014, we had a polar vortex, and believe it or not, after the third day, and I don't want to get into a hot button item, but we have a natural gas capacity issue in Massachusetts. You get to heat your home before they get to generate energy with that, and 3 power plants got shut off by the utility, saying natural gas works on pressure. You're taking too much gas out of the line. You literally go out to the plant. You can't take any more gas. Because of that, we almost, by almost, I mean, we came within 1,500 megawatts of a rolling brownout in 2014 because of, I don't know if you remember how cold that winter was. The following winter, prices were 16 cents because of what happened the prior winter. Things have settled down over the last couple of winters. No, I could certainly take that. I'm just going to say.
The rate could still go down less than it is now. Is that true?
The answer is yes, it could. Yes, it could. Capacity is what's going to hurt you, sir. It could. The answer is yes. I don't see it because we're at historic lows on energy where we bought as far as the term goes. But the answer is yes. So we bought it around 38 ATC, which is around the clock for a year. Very, very good pricing. What you were paying at that time, or what I'm talking about 38, to give you an idea, you were paying 161 all winter long ATC around the clock.
But yeah, I mean, in the sense of what you're asking, prices do go up and down, just like when you go and buy gasoline. Today it's a certain amount. Let's say it's $2.25. Tomorrow it might be $2.27, or it might be $2.22. A year from now, it might still be $2.25, or it might be $3. If there's a war out in the Middle East, it goes up. If Venezuela cuts off its supply of oil to the United States, it goes up. So, and we're talking about we don't know what's going to happen for certain. It could go up, it could go down. You look at things and say, okay, what information do you have? And I'll make a decision about that and buy accordingly. It can go up and down. I mean, the basic rate of service for National Grid will go up and down every 6 months.
That's correct. And it's
Yes.
every 6 months. May and November is when they go up, and they announce those March and September.
How did you come up with this rate of 0.10876? How did you come up with that number? Did you negotiate with the town, or did you just?
So it's not my number. I work on behalf of the town. I'm actually work for you. So what happened was there was a single 3-year rate. But to get that, we wanted to get the shoulder months of September and October, the less expensive pricing in there. But we didn't want to come out and say, I think, and please don't hold me to this, I think that the actual rate was like 10.3, and then we just mathematically said we want to be under to start the program. We're still not going to hurt ourselves at the 10.8. So do you happen to remember?
Well, also, I think what also he's asking is about this. Also what the process was, in the sense of Colonial is a consultant working for the town. They're not supplying the electricity.
Yeah.
So what they did for us is they went out to the market and said, hey, electricity suppliers, you, town of Halifax wants to buy electricity. What are you willing to sell it for to the town of Halifax? So we got bids in through Colonial from firm A and firm B and firm C, and they came in with pricing and told us, this is what we're willing to sell electricity to you for. Now, where it got a little bit tricky because National Grid's prices go up and down every 6 months. Right now, we're 2 months away from National Grid changing their price. We wanted to bring in a price today that was a little bit lower than the price you'd be paying for National Grid right now.
Last year was at 0.09787. It's actually lower than this offer right now.
Well, but not, was that?
We don't know what's going to be.
Right, but yeah,
obviously,
right.
but you look at the gas market, natural gas is 8-month low. It's going down. I know supply and demand, especially in the Northeast, so the power plants is the whole issue.
Yes.
And I know I don't know where they are, but I know National Grid and Eversource are working on a couple of pipelines coming up. I don't know where they're coming out or anything. And a few other projects, but.
We have tried, we haven't got anything successful, and I don't want to get into that, whether people believe in the natural gas, not my backyard thing.
Yeah.
But I do think over time, we will see that we just need it. But I will agree with you, the 9.7, and I forget, it's 9.7, last winter, 9.7 something.
Yeah,
that had to do,
8.7.
correct, and that had to do with their March buy, when natural gas prices were below $2. And right now we're at right around $3. Just to give you an idea, 50% has come up. Still historic lows. And that's what I'm saying. In my opinion, given capacity, it was the time to stretch. Just my experience in the marketplace.
Can I help you sneak in?
Not a problem. First, and then you.
So
Okay.
this is not owned by a private company, this is going to be owned by Halifax?
No. So just,
Who owns the aggregation?
nobody owns the aggregation per se. What we're doing is we're buying electricity from a company called Nextera, which it owns generation plants, it owns electricity plants that generate electricity. So we will buy electricity from Nextera. But by buying, we're not saying the town itself is buying. You choose whether you want to buy electricity from Nextera at a price that they've said that they're willing to sell it for. So you'll be buying it. It will still be a National Grid bill, and it will just simply it will say Nextera supply on the bill, so you know who your supplier is.
And
Is that on this letter?
yes, it is.
Okay.
So, and let me just take that.
I see it.
Yep. Let me take that one step further. So what the town is saying is I'm going to bring together my customer base for the benefit of my customers. They get to decide. The risk sits with the supplier. The town says I'm going to bring them to the marketplace. Whether they decide to stay in or not is completely up to them. But if every person in Halifax said, I'm just going to use that 9/7. Went to 9/7, everyone said, hey, I'm out of the program. The town is not financially obligated to do anything. There is no risk to the town. Ultimately, that price, if the next 6 months it went up to 13, everyone could join back in. The risk is on Nextera, but the town doesn't have any fiduciary responsibility to pay for that unused energy. So what they're saying is, this is our customer base. We're trying to bring them choices that they don't currently have. It's up to them to make a decision.
Yeah, the town's not making any money. The town's not losing any money, as in terms of the town government. By signing this contract, we didn't get any checks from Nextera. We don't have to give any checks to Nextera. It's simply we're operating as a party to help residents choose whether they want to participate or not. We don't make any money out of this.
She had one question, ma'am. I'm sorry.
Do you have a lower rate for off-peak hours?
At this time, the stability is what we've gone with. With the meters that are currently affixed to everyone's house. Unfortunately, we don't have any smart meters. If a pilot was to be done down here, you could do exactly that. Right now, so you know when people say, oh, use your energy at night? It does help the grid out overall, but it doesn't help you out at all. Because they read your meter on September 5th, and they read it again on October 5th. You could use all your energy on October 6th, leave for a month, turn everything off. They have no idea when you use your power. I read it at 110, it's now 230. That's the difference. It's that simple and that dumb. So the answer is aggregation could give the price, but it wouldn't bring any benefit unless you were an R4 customer, and that means you have a smart meter. That it would make a difference. Question, ma'am.
So if it's everyone's choice, why are we all automatically enrolled?
So we're all automatically enrolled because that's the way the legislation was written up in 1997. And the reason why everyone's enrolled, it's a function of electricity. So we use our energy first before we pay for it. So if I told the supply community, I have 4,000 customers. I don't know how many people are going to join or not. Give me a price. How many do they price? Nobody knows. But with aggregation, we know, not anecdotal, actual data. I can expect, I'm not saying that's what's going to happen here. I can expect 93 to 95% of the people to stay in this program, to take the savings. They're going to bid that, and they're going to bid it competitively. Just the opposite happens, and that's why you get those mailings, and they're a little disingenuous. So you're going to get a 3-month rate that's going to show you, oh, this is savings. I'm here to tell you that the way the market is set up, they need to change it. So with a program that you see in the mail, they're going to give you a price that's going to be below basic service. Almost unequivocally, it's going to be below basic service. It's a lost leader for them because they bought energy and they don't know who's going to join. After that happens, the rate will rise on you. And I'm just going to tell you how it works. You won't know the rate's risen on you until you get your bill. And you go, wait, this is crazy. I signed up for 7 cents, it's 15. Well, they can't, the way the utility works is you've got your bill, I can't remove you from the program till the following month. So they get you for 2 months, on that 2-month loss leader, it's a break even. And they're making money. They already know that, once you sign up, they already know that.
So what happened was the state legislation was, as he mentioned, in 97. So the folks up in Boston approved this. It's taken this number of years, 20 years now, for more and more communities to start participating in something like that. So what happened was in May of 16, we went to town meeting. Townspeople had a discussion at that town meeting whether or not the town was going to participate in this type of program, where it was explained opt-out versus opt-in. And I know, especially in southeastern Massachusetts, there's a lot of objections to the automatic opt-in provision. A lot of people feel that the town shouldn't be involved in electricity buying for individual households and everything. And I understand that philosophy, but the only way of running the program by the state legislation was to have that provision so that you're automatically opt-in. We've tried to make it as easy as possible, as I mentioned, by mail, by phone, on the computer, to opt out, to give people as much of an opportunity to opt out as they can. If you don't get the mailing, you can call Colonial. They'll send another mailing to you. Even if you don't get a mailing, you can do it by phone. You can do it via their website, and we have the information on the town website. So I understand philosophically why a lot of people have that as a problem. It's a big, big headache to them. I shouldn't have to do anything at all. I didn't want to be a part of it. And I understand where they're coming from. I'm just asking, okay, how long is it going to take you to fill out the form? I even got one here at Town Hall today. It took me all 15 seconds to write my name, put it in the envelope, off it goes. It's already, there's no, I don't even have to put postage on it. I could have done it by the computer, I could do it by telephone. Is it a little bit of a bother? Yes. But we also wanted to be able, it was the only way of providing people that opportunity to get the rates that were, went out to bid for. So if people object to it, I understand why. We're just trying to do our best to make it as easy as possible for people to opt out if they want to.
And I will add one more thing. It's one of the things that allows you to get the terms and conditions. We actually turn the tables on the supply community. They normally send you something or call you something. It's their terms and conditions. The management, the Board of Selectmen and so forth said, free opt-in, free opt-out at any point in time. This is a consumer-loaded contract so that you get your choices. Without that, you're at the kind of at the mercy of the marketplace. And they might give you a good rate, but then it's $75 to opt out when the rate gets spiked on you, and now all your savings are gone.
So, in fact, someone could opt out this month.
Yep.
Then they find out what the rate is. The announcement from National Grid comes out at the end of September.
Yes.
And they say, hey, wait a minute. I remember I could join Nextera through the town. I want to opt in again come November 1st, let's say. They'll be able to do so again. Go to the phone, go to the website, and they'll say, hey, I want to join up again, even though I opted out. And there won't be a cost to opting back in.
None.
If you want to.
I consider it a choice, but I do understand this choice comes with a hook, right? Because if you don't do something, you're going to be enrolled. I do get it. It's just with the energy markets, the way they're set up, it's the best model to get the best pricing. Maybe.
Does the town benefit by a lower rate too?
No, we already have a contract for electricity supply ourselves. We're not, at this point, we're not participating in this.
You don't have, the town itself does not do this?
If I was a resident, I already have a supplier, I can't break that contract automatically and say to the supplier, hey, I'm joining Nextera. The town has a contract with an electricity supplier today already. It was done a couple of years ago. We're still in that. So I can't call these people up and say, hey, I want to break my contract. Well, you can imagine what happens if I do that.
It's not good.
So at some point, when the current electricity contract the town has expires, then we can look at this and we can, just as you all can, we can look at any other firm that's out there and see what the rates are like. Now, comparatively to one household, the town spends, I don't know, let's say $100,000 a year on electricity between all the town buildings and such. We're a little bit bigger customer than one resident. probably in fact a bigger customer than hundreds of residents put together. So we may get a little bit better buying power as one, not maybe as big as the entire town, but we can shop around a little bit. But we can't do that today because we already have a contract in place.
But certainly when their contract ends, they could join or not join. It's their load profile that's advantageous. When they use energy and how they use it, they could probably get a better price in the marketplace on their own.
Mm-hmm.
But if they couldn't because energy prices have risen, you can always join this program.
Because we tend to use our electricity during the daytime. You might use more of it at night, for instance, because you come home from work and suddenly all the TVs are on, the stove's on, you're using the laundry and the dryer and washer and everything. We shut down for the most part, except for the police and fire departments at night. So they like to balance that off.
If there's a water treatment plant, it's the ideal. It's up 24/7. I don't know if there is.
Right.
It runs, and that's the load that they're looking for steady. So sorry to get into the sausage being made there, but it's a beneficial thing. And sometimes you like a little bit longer of a contract so you can budget. So sometimes it's more advantageous for towns just to do their own thing. The municipal buildings. More questions?
So say in like 2018, I want to opt into it, or whatever, opt out.
Yes.
I can do it.
You can, and I have people do it every 6 months because that's what basic service. You could opt in and opt out every other month if you so chose.
And the utility won't penalize me for going back and forth.
The reconciliation credit, they've removed that since the price spike in 2015. No more penalty on the utility side or our side.
I does it take 2 billing cycles? Because I have NRG trying it out, and it's actually I don't mean I need to pay 4 cycles, but
And if people have those kind of problems, I have relationships with those companies and happy to make phone calls on your behalf. But I'm going to explain one more time because it's tricky. So we use our power first. So the utility, some of it has to do with the utility. It's not all NRG. 4 cycles, that's NRG. But I'm just here to tell you, you use your power and then you get your bill. So I'll use time frames. I'm just going to say August 1st to August 30th, you used your power. You thought you were at 7 cents, but NRG charged you 15 cents. You get your bill in September, right? So they read the meter and then you get your bill. You're like, this is crazy. Call NRG. The rate went up, blah, blah, blah. NRG cannot remove you from their program until your next meter reads, which would be September 30th. Do you see what I'm saying? So again, now you'll see something on your bill on September 30th that you're being switched back. But that's 2 months. And believe me, the suppliers know it. It should be changed. They should have to tell you before they change the rate in August that actually in July, I take that back, July, that your rate's going to 15 before that happens so that you can say, I don't want to be part of that. But they're not required today. And that's why I'm saying to you, most people that enter the marketplace, they don't know who's going to join their program, so they're buying energy. It's not always cheap. They'll give it to you cheap, knowing that they got you on the back end for those 2 months. Even if I know the game, I can't avoid it. Unless, by law, if you call them ahead of time, you remember, I'm saying to you by law, if you call them, they have to tell you what your rate's going to be. But, I mean, I'm assuming you're as busy as I am. Who's thinking of us?
a lot of times we don't know what next month's rate's going to be. Yeah.
If you had,
Energy costs, so that was another one
I'm going to say to you, you could simply make a call to the department, and that Department of Public Utilities, I'm going to leave you my card because I'm happy to call that company on you. If that's a recorded line, you got it. But, those are the games that are being played out there. I just want you to know that it's not by mistake. Like I said, now everyone knows that's what happens, so just keep it in mind. Should you opt out? More questions? Yes, sir.
Is there a minimum of people in Halifax that have to join this or stay in it? So the contract is set to a percentage, let's say 60% opt out. Does the price change at all? Does that
Never. That price is going to be, when we have a split price, it's going to be for 2 months at 9.2, and then it's going to go to the 10.8 for the next 34. If there's one customer or no customers, that price is good.
But be aware that based on the number of people that opt out, and the rate comes up for renewal in 3 years, they're gonna look at the number of people that they actually had to base the rate on. So if we lose a lot of people,
guarantee that rate's gonna go up.
But, and I don't disagree with you on that basis, but we're in the marketplace.
Right.
So NextEra might have a risk premium on it, but that doesn't mean Constellation or one of the other suppliers will.
Correct.
So we do get to keep them honest on that front.
Right.
But I do agree that they would be looking at it as a loss.
I mean, like right now, you're basing it on, this is what we're expecting to get because the fact that 90 or 93% of the people are gonna stay on the plan. So you set a rate statistically based on those numbers.
That's
So
correct.
if you have a high number of opt-outs, if it goes down to 60% or something, they're gonna, they can't do anything about the rate right now, but when the contract comes up for renewal, you better believe they're probably gonna say, well, we're gonna have to probably charge a little bit more because we're not getting the number of people that we thought we were gonna get.
And we needed to sell. And it really depends on what happens to the marketplace because that could be extremely advantageous or extremely costly. Right now, the spot market clears much lower than the futures market. So in this market, they would get crushed. They probably wouldn't bid on it
So
again.
getting back to that, when the contract is up, I assume the town renegotiates the contract?
We would work with Colonial or somebody else 3 years from now to do the same thing.
2.5.
2.5. 2.5.
So
To do the same
would it be like
thing.
this situation where like, we're just gonna get this big rate increase, we're gonna get notified like 2 or 3 months before the rate goes up, is that correct?
He has every right to do this exact same thing 3 years from now.
Yeah.
Informational session, because people might not remember, and if he wanted to do another mailing, it's not required, but there would be something on the website, an article in the newspaper, and so forth and so on. So you could go as far as the town wanted to go. They could do another mailing when the rate changed, no
Right.
question.
I'm just saying, when she talks about like the 2-month cycle and getting surprised, it's like in 3, okay, this is all nice and good, but all of a sudden, if the rate goes up to 14 and the market's at 12.5, I want to be notified
Right.
before my rate goes up.
Well, I think Kim would make sure that I made sure that information got out early enough so people could make a decision about it.
I think that's important. And that's what I like about aggregation. This is finally the people making the decisions about energy. It's not someone in Boston saying, hey, this is what we're going to do and this is how we're going to do it. Right now, we don't have a choice. Halifax is having a choice very shortly here. But some towns, this winter, they get National Grid. That's what they get. Or get more expensive, they get N-Star this coming winter. Without a program, what are their options? At your own peril. I'm not saying every deal is a bad deal. Just make sure you look at the small print.
So how does Golden get paid?
We get paid on the price of energy. So it's 0.001 1/10 of a penny. We call it a mil, but I'm going to just so that everyone understands. Without our fee, the price would be 0.09199. So the price is 0.092. Does everyone see the difference? All of the money, you pay your bill to National Grid. National Grid collects everything, sends it to the supplier, sends us a check on a monthly basis.
Mark, several people had contacted me about solar and the folks who have panels right now and they have net credits that I guess they sell to National Grid. What happens with this program? If they participate in this program, what happens? If they don't participate in this program, what happens? What happens to their solar and everything?
So solar works identically as it does today, except for one thing. And I want to state this clearly. The knife cuts both ways. The first 2 months, you're going to do better with the program. And I'm going to tell you why. National Grid always pays you basic service. So you're going to pay supply at $99299. They're going to credit your bill at $9432. You get the delta. So you're paying less for the energy, but you're getting credited the same amount. But if it goes upside down, the exact same way that you get the double benefit, you get the double whammy. So let's just walk through it. Our price is going to be $10.8. I'm just going to say they're going to be at 10 cents. You'd be paying supply at $10.8. They credit your bill at 10. Always credit basic service. So when you're under, it's a double benefit to you. There is no change in the program. The credits still hit, and if it really depends on everyone. So
it's all connected with National Grid. It's not going to be connected with NextEra.
That's correct. NextEra is only the supply portion. The contract you currently have is a financial contract, and they are all different. You could literally own your solar panels and actually have a contract with National Grid for any excess. Or you could have a third party put them on, and you would have a third party. There's many different contracts and so forth, but they're all a financial transaction with National Grid, even that supply company that put it on your roof, that you may have credits that you don't have to pay right now. At some point, you end up paying them whatever that discount is.
So people's arrangements with National Grid stay with National Grid.
Intact, except
Yes.
for, I would say it's a little bit on steroids with the program. So when you're under, you get the extra benefit. But when you're over, the knife's cutting the other way, and you're getting credited at the higher rate, and, excuse me, you're getting credited at the lower rate for the usage, and you're paying the higher rate for supply. More questions? Yes.
Mr. Seeley, who is the town currently receiving their electricity?
We're actually with Nextera. We went with a contract with Nextera a couple of years ago, but that didn't influence who ended up winning the bid this time because, like I said, when Colonial went out to bid for us, we got figures from 4 or 5 different firms, people who sell electricity. Nextera was one of them, but it wasn't the only one. They just happened to be the low price out of the group. We could, previous years, was it 3 years ago or so, we were with Constellation and buying electricity from Constellation. Then we went out to bid ourselves about 3 years ago, and Nextera was the low bid then, and we went with Nextera. And when our new contract is up, we'll go back out to the marketplace, and it might be Nextera, it might be somebody else. But we're just happen today to be buying electricity from Nextera. That may not be true in a few months.
More questions? I wanted to let you know I have cards here. In case people don't like to speak in a crowd, happy to talk to anyone at any time. Feel free to come by and take cards. If you want to give me a call in the office, I'm more than happy to answer anyone's questions. Town hired me to educate and make sure. I think that's the most important part of aggregation. I think once you find out the details around it, it's a very, very advantageous program for you. Without that, there's a lot of unknowns, and they couldn't make energy more confusing than it currently is. So if there are questions, feel free, if you're uncomfortable in this form, to give me a call or send me an email. All my information's right there.
So Mark, a few basic things.
Sure.
If they don't get the mailing, and what should they be doing if they don't get the mailing?
If you don't get the mailing, if you check your bill and you haven't called National Grid or whatever, please go to Colonial's website. You can ask an inquiry there, or you can get our number right there. Give us a call. We'll send you out the mailing right away unfortunately, it'll be a first-class stamp that you'll get in 2 days.
Mark, do you have the number in case?
Absolutely.
Not everybody these days, even today, some people don't want to go on the internet and everything. Do you have the number that they should call?
Sometimes, it's great informational, but so the 1-800 number is 866-485-5858.
Could you just repeat it again for our TV audience?
866-485-5858. And most people don't, it's close enough, so it's just, we're in Marlboro, so it's 508-485-5858. Toll free, it's the 866-485-5858.
And then if I do get the mailing, but I already have a supplier, I already have a contract with somebody, why, if I got it and I thought I wasn't going to get it because I already had a supplier, what should I do with the mailing if I already have a supplier?
So, thank you very much. So there are some timing issues that we have. So, for the most part, we requested a mailing just before we sent it out from National Grid. But if over the last couple of weeks you signed up with a supplier, we wouldn't have known, neither would National Grid at that time, that you've done that. You will get this mailing and be enrolled. But if you have just recently signed up, what you want to do is give us a call or opt out of the program right away, because we won't even send an enrollment in because you're already with a third-party supplier. And unfortunately, we get those timing issues almost with every mailing. Nothing we can do about it. We drew a line in the sand in some point in July. Let's just say the 15th or the 18th. Here's our list. The best we can do, put together the mailing and sent it out. Unfortunately, you could be out in the marketplace getting NRG Energy or anyone else's. We have no way of knowing that. So if you do get the mailing, National Grid told us you were a basic service customer. If you had made a choice in that period, or say they inadvertently send your name, and for 2 years you've been getting power from NRG, simply sign that card and send it back to let us know. We apologize, but we're using utility grade data, and that's the best data we could get. Thank you very much. It will happen.
Yeah.
And I just want you to know, for the most part, when those issues have happened, even when the prices were high, I call and let the supplier know, this customer was enrolled, we have your opt-out, shouldn't have happened, so forth and so on. It's a timing issue, and they'll credit your bill.
If I'm calling or if I'm going on the website,
Yes.
no matter what decision I'm making, what information do I need to have with me? Do I need to have my address? Do I have to need my account number? What
Most
information do I need?
important, just to have your National Grid electricity bill. I don't know if this is also a National Grid gas community too, but it has to be your electricity bill because it has to be an exact match. Name, like if for some reason they put I'm Mark Anthony, on my bill it says Mark A. If we put the enrollment in as Mark Capadona, doesn't go through, needs the A on it. So all of your information is right there on your bill and takes, honestly, less than a minute to fill it out. I think there's 7 data points. Address, mailing address, town, state, your account number. That's it. It's that quick. If you can do it, and even easier to pick up the phone. Once we have it, we'll enter it right in there for you.
So what they should do is when they're going to go online or whether they're going to be making a phone call is to have an electric bill with them so that has the account information and whatever other information. What happens, what do I need to do in terms of filling a card out in a sense of, do I have to provide that information too or is
Just the pen. Simply sign your name, date it, inside a stamp addressed envelope, put it in the mail. That's it. That's all you need.
so how do they know?
So on there's a code and your account number.
Okay.
Because we have it in an envelope, it's all protected. Not a problem at all.
But if you've already signed up for this third party, so to speak, you won't get one of these letters.
That's correct. If on your bill it says NRG right now, you should not get this mailing.
Okay.
If you do, opt out immediately.
And just to point out, if you do use another supplier, some of those people actually have termination fees. So if you don't opt out, you'll get switched and you'll get hit by a fee by the other company.
Correct, and that's why I say call me if that happens. I normally call, explain the program, and we can get that reversed. Because we don't want to see that happen by any means. That's not the goal of this program. When you call the opt-out, no one's going to try to talk you out of it. It's simply your choice. No one's going to try to talk you out of it. It's your choice, not a problem, here you go. We would make you understand if the price was 14 for National Grid and we were at 10.8, just want you to know this decision is going to cost you money. Certainly your right to do so, and then they'll just opt you out, just to give you the information. But no one's going to say, oh, you got to stay with this and so forth. There's no hard sell. This is your program.
I would like to know, the people in the room, how many people got a letter from National Grid saying that they were the worst in the neighborhood on electricity, using the amount of electricity? Everybody I talked to today got a letter that said they were the worst in the neighborhood.
I was.
Wasn't it?
Yeah.
I was 236% above the average.
I think that neighborhood is in aggregate for the entire state.
So now you're the worst in the state, right? Not just the neighborhood.
I have changed a couple times to this other third party, so to speak.
Yes.
And the other day, 2 days ago, I got a call on my answer machine. You are not receiving any benefit, any discount. Don't know who it was or anything. Just that was the only thing they said.
They're just trying to set the hook. If you call them back, they got you.
Yeah, that's what we call that slamming. You
Yeah.
gotta watch out for that. If you have a third party and you don't wanna change, you can call the National Grid
Yeah.
and put a block on it, and they will not be able to change it.
That same block applies to this program, just so you know. We would not get your name.
So then if they call,
Yeah.
They shouldn't even call because they shouldn't be able to
I'm
get your
just
name.
saying, if these third parties call, they're not gonna be able to do it.
I had no idea
Unless you
who it
call
was.
National Grid and said, that's
Yeah.
what I want.
That's an excellent point. That's an
Because-
excellent point.
Because I've been reading a lot of it, like some
Yeah.
places, they'll take a verbal thing, get your account number, and that's it, done. You've changed, you don't even know it. And then when you try to get out of it, then they say, okay, fine, you leave, but here's the penalty, $150 for leaving early.
True that.
Crazy.
Yep. And I will say, that's why I believe these aggregations, the consumer loaded nature of that, it's to protect you. It's to see the wanted to make sure that there was a free opt-in, opt-out in perpetuity. Can't do that with most suppliers. But that's what aggregation kind of turns the table on the supply community. It's your terms and conditions, not necessarily theirs. If they want to bid in the load. Yes, ma'am.
If you're with another supplier
Yes.
right now, how do we know that your rate is lower than theirs?
So you're going to do two things right off the bat. You're going to take a look. The rate that you have the option for is going to be 09299, starting with your September meter read. I want you to go home, take a look at your bill. On that bill, on the back side of your National Grid bill, it's going to tell you who your supplier is and the number. That rate that you have is good for the last month. But on that bill, it will have a 1-800 number to call. You're going to call them, ask them what your September rate is going to be. And if there's a fee or penalty to leave that program. Then you're going to be able to make a decision whether you want to participate in this program and leave them or not. If you decided that you wanted to join this program, a simple phone call to that 866-485-5858 when you had your electricity bill can get you enrolled for that September. Well, so there's another little game that gets played. They're going to put a transaction in. We're going to put a transaction in. We would hope to be able to, at this point, get you signed up for your September meter read. It may end up being October, depending on when they put their drop transaction in.
That's the advantage of the opt-in at the time, because some of these programs do have like, okay, 12 months. You might be 4 months into a service. You can't, even if you wanted to. So in 8 months, then you could say, okay, fine, now it's up and I can opt-in.
And you can always leave, as you said earlier, it can come at a tremendous financial cost. You can get out, but
And some of them don't, some people don't even have termination fees. You gotta, that's one of the things that's important, like you said, you gotta check to make sure the company that you're using has in fact a termination fee.
or not.
All right.
Yeah. I'm trying to.
Just signed up with National Grid. I never paid any attention to this, but the back page at the back of the bill. But if you're just signed up with National Grid, are you automatically signed up with a service provider?
If you haven't made a choice, you're automatically get National Grid's basic service.
It's this, okay.
It's theirs, and they do a procurement twice a year. Twice a year for you because you hadn't made a choice.
It just doesn't default.
So there's no penalty.
You know, if you're on National Grid, then there's no penalty to switch.
That's correct. Yes, sir.
If we go with you, how long a period is this?
So it's a 36-month contract, 2 months at the 9/2 and 34 months at the 10/8.
Right, at the end of this period, what happens then?
At some point at the end of near the end of the contract, depending on market conditions, I will approach Mr. Seelig and say, we're getting near that time. Any point in that time, this is where aggregation is powerful. If 6 months from now, the curve falls off in 2020, excuse me, I'm going to approach him and say, hey, listen, we can get 6 cent power for the next 2 years out there. It's up to him whether he wants to make the decision or not. But we're in the market every day, sir. So the answer is, I'm going to bring him good offers when they exist. At the end, last possible thing would be somewhere between 6 and 8 months out, we would start to hit the market again.
So in 2020, 3 years from now, let's say we've done nothing at all. Summer of 2020, just like it is right now, we're talking with Colonial Power and say, hey, our contract's ending on September 1st or actually August 31st of 2020. We need to go back out to bid for this aggregation group, and we'll do so. What he's also mentioning is they can come to us earlier and say, this is a really good time to go out to bid now for the 4th year, the 5th year of the contract. In essence, extend the contract farther out than it is from 2020. And we'll have some discussion, figure, is it time to go out to bid? It might be a year in advance, it might be a year and a half in advance if they think the prices are, if the prices are as good as they're ever going to be for 2021 and 2022, it might be a good time to go out to bid for that. Or if we haven't done anything, then we'll wait until 2020 and then we'll go out to bid at that point. This is, I mean, we'll also look at, see in fact, how many people are participating in the program or anything, and whether it's just worth going through this again. But
And that's one of the decisions you could make and say, at this time, we're not going to, everyone wouldn't have to do anything. Let's say his decision or the select board's decision was, we're not going to extend the contract. In September of 2020, everyone would automatically, you wouldn't have to do anything, get switched back to basic service.
But we probably do some publicity about that in the sense of, again, you're talking about the shock. Wait a minute, my rate changed. What happened? So again, the summer of 2020, we publicized, we're not going out to bid again. We're not going to be doing this. Or we did go out to bid and here's the new price. And what we might do, even if we decide not to go out to bid, we'd say, hey, we didn't go out to bid, but you yourself can, here's a list of suppliers, you can do your homework, you can start making the phone calls, and you can handle buying electricity yourself. Here's a whole list of suppliers that you can get quotes from.
That's a great point, masschoice.com. The DPU has a website with all sorts of choices on it. They're all private, but they do show you there's fees, there's not fees, and so forth. I think it's important, masschoice.com, and you can see, you can choose a 1 year or 2 year just to match it up against these rates and see what else is out there. They are private contracts, just so everyone's aware. Private, meaning it's up between you and the supplier.
If we're going to your company, will we be paying two different bills, or is it all one?
All one bill, so if you have budget billing or automatic withdrawal, it still stays in place.
So you would charge the same price as National Grid for delivery services?
Unfortunately, we don't, it's National Grid. We don't,
So we're still.
So you're, yeah,
that's it, you're still National Grid customer.
right.
That's what I thought, so how can you opt out if you're still with them?
So all you can opt out of is that supply portion. It's a monopoly. We cannot opt out of them as the distribution company. We have no choice there.
You have no choice on who you're buying the pipe from. You're always
Yes.
going to buy you're going to always buy National Grid's pipe. Or you have a choice about whose electrons you're buying.
Yes, ma'am.
Is this a done deal no matter how many sign up or if not too many sign up for it?
So the risk sits with NextEra. If the whole town joins, not a problem. If one customer opts out or all the customers but one, the price is still set and it will sit there for 36 months.
And it'd still be there 6 months from now, 12 months from now, 2 years from now. We've got a long-term 3-year contract with the set price for the first 2 months, a slightly different price the other 34 months. So for instance, a resident who's moving in the town this January will have the option of participating in this program. They don't have to, but it will be there for them if they want to. Speaking of which, Mark, if someone moves in, what happens? Are they automatically going to basic? Are they automatically going to next tier, or what happens?
Yeah, so the rules say that they have to go to basic service first and get a bill before they can join.
Okay.
But a small town like, so in the city of Lowell, as you can imagine, there's 3 colleges. There's about 3,000 customers that churn every month. So what we try to, by churn meaning an apartment, a college student will move out, someone else will move in. So every month they do a mailing up there. With Halifax, but with the customers, maybe it's every other or quarterly, we'll get the list from National Grid and send out a mailing. Just an option if you want to do that, and that way there it keeps the load up. And if people, lots of times, and I want to state this, let's say that we're upside down. We're at 10.8 and they're at 10 cents. You may decide, I don't want to send the mailing, people might not be paying attention, we're not here to charge people more money. Mm-hmm. Wait until the price is back over and we're saving money again.
So if Jane Smith comes in January, what will happen is Jane Smith's going to be put on basic service, and then at some point later on, Jane's going to get a mailing saying, hey, we have this offer. You can opt in if you want to. If you don't do anything, that's fine.
Exactly. And I know you said opt in, but you can opt out, right? Because it's an automatic opt in.
Well, no, but if Jane is moving into here.
Works the same way, though. If she doesn't do anything, she's automatically enrolled.
Okay.
Exactly the same,
Okay.
She has the exact same choice, But if she chooses,
But
I'm
she'll
saying-
get, okay, but she'll get a mailing saying you can opt out.
bingo.
Okay.
I should have stated that. That's
Okay.
correct. That's correct. Exact same mailing that you got today.
Okay.
More questions? Charlie, did you have anything you wanted to go
No,
over? Okay.
I think, the biggest things were opt in, opt out, solar, how long the contract for is, and what the costs are. At least that's what I've seen so far, when we've seen, people have contacted the town hall or it's been on the internet and such, so.
Yeah, and if anytime, John, just remember you can always forward them on to us. That's what we're happy to answer those
Yeah.
questions. That's all we do is mass, so they're going to get the right answer.
I just like to make a statement, I like the program, it's safe for senior citizens.
Folks, we're just one
I
conversation.
actually like the idea of the program, it actually protects people from these private companies coming in, not raping people, but taking advantage of them.
Yes.
And this is a 3-year program, you have the option going in and out, you don't have that option with many private companies at all. And, commend the committee on this program.
Thank
The only thing I don't like is the state forcing you in it psychologically, but nothing's perfect.
Yeah.
That's well said. I think I'm going to use that. So nothing is perfect, and there may have been a better mousetrap, but
No,
this is
definitely protect seniors, because I don't want to say what I do, but I come across issues like this all the time. And some of these companies really, you jump the bill up the next month and like $100. Boom.
and there's just make sure, because I'm just going to tell you there's lots of unscrupulous companies. They're going to tell you your rate is $7.9, but there's a $20 a month charge. Their rate is $7.9, and they're charging you $20 fixed price. Well, that's not their rate. Their rate has to be factored in.
Changes drastically.
Yeah, it's just there's a lot of details to look at. That's all I'm saying, and not everyone
It's
is.
not as easy as it used to be.
That's correct. I agree with the statement.
So really, the town did all the you did all the homework, you did all the research.
Well-
And you're kind of presenting it to us.
We're-
Appreciate it.
yeah.
This is the reason why I've never gone to a third party.
Yeah.
Because I was always afraid of those fees and the rate going up and not really understanding how it really works.
They're not really regulated either, so it's,
And well, that's the deregulation of the whole. And
yeah,
the nice thing is this is done with oversight.
yeah, but the town.
Well,
Exactly.
and also, we got a lot of mail back and forth with the Department of Public Utilities because they actually had to approve this program every step of the way. So it's not something we just decide, that we can be doing anything we wanted to. Every step of the way, DPU had to say, and they kept asking questions. Do you have this? Do you have this? We want more information. So while it's in a deregulated environment, what the plan we actually have had to be approved up in Boston. So there were other people reviewing it too.
And at the local level, both you and the select board had their changes and wanted things done the way they wanted them done. So all of that oversight helps, I think, to create a product that is beneficial to the end user. That is the hope.
Well, thanks. Like I said, there's our website, there's Colonial's website, Colonial's phone number, one more time.
508-485-5858, 866-485-5858, the 1-800 number.
Thank you.
ColonialPowerGroup.com is the website. And should all be on the mailing you get. Of course, if you haven't got the mailing, that's problematic.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. You're welcome. And please, take as many as you'd like. Happy to take any calls.
I'll be doing in and out.
Fantastic. That's what it's about.
Yeah, that's the best part. Thank you.
Thank you. Mark, nice to meet you.
Anyway,
Nice to meet you.
it makes me want to go Mike Anthony's and Wagon.
It's yeah, that's correct. You're exactly correct. My bad. Yeah, absolutely.
No, I work for